We're ready.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to call to order the regular City Council meeting of Monday, April 18th, 2022. It is now 8:02 p.m., and I would ask everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam City Clerk, if you could, for the record, could you show that we are, validate that we have a quorum this evening?
Yes, Mayor, we do have a quorum this evening. We have in council chambers, Councilmember Esteve, Councilmember Wolfley, and Councilmember Harrison. And virtually we have Councilmember Ndebumalu, Mayor Pro Tem Boafo, and Mayor Adams. Only one not present this evening is Councilmember Gardner.
Okay, thank you so very much, Madam City Clerk. At this time, I will entertain if there are any agenda additions, deletions, or amendments. Hearing none, we will move on to citizen participation. Madam City Clerk.
Mayor, we have one speaker signed up this evening, Mr. Jeffrey Cooper. Mr. Cooper.
Good afternoon, council members and members
Good evening, Mr. Cooper.
and staff. I just wanted to let you know that we are still in search to have a policy that deals with residential foreclosures in our neighborhoods. We don't have a process in place, and we need one seriously. This is an issue, a major issue, and I just want to encourage the council to come up with a solution that reflects the residents' concerns and that is driven by citizen requests. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I see there are no presentations on the agenda, is that correct?
Correct,
Madam City
Mayor.
Clerk?
Correct.
And no city boards and committee reports today?
Correct.
We will now move into council announcements. If any council members have any announcements they'd like to make at this time?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is Councilmember Harrison.
Councilmember Harrison, please go right ahead.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to announce and share with the public, we had our first meeting on the racetrack property on the 7th of April at 1 o'clock here at City Hall. And we met with Bowie State University. We reviewed the shared use agreement. We talked about priorities of effort on both sides, potential funding mechanisms for property improvements, conceptual visions for the site, and formation of a work group. So I just wanted to share that so everyone was aware that yourself, Mr. Mayor, and I met with BSU, and we plan to have another meeting on the 29th and would like to continue those discussions with BSU. And I didn't know if you wanted to add anything.
No, I think you covered it well there, Councilwoman. I think it was a very good meeting. I think we made good progress, and I look forward to us moving forward. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. That's all that I have.
All right, any other announcements from any other council members? Hearing none, at this time, we will now move on to the city manager's report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and residents out there in Bowie TV land. We are obviously ramped up to get through the budget process and anxious for our second budget work session. But I'd like to mention two things that are forthcoming. On May the 2nd, we intend to, of course, discuss the constant yield. Also, we're going to have the Public Works Director provide an update on the water filtration rebate program that evening. And also, we're going to have the consultants who are working on our economic development strategy make a presentation to you all, and since we are close to ending that. Also, one thing we intend to add, which is a late addition, but it'll be on the next tentative agenda, the results of a fact-finding meeting we had today with WSSC regarding the possibilities of, or all the facts and circumstances associated with transferring our system to their control. And we'll be presenting that to you all and looking for direction one way or the other. And that's it for me tonight, sir.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions for the City Manager from anyone? Hearing none, we'll now move on to the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, move to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. In discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. We have no old business today, so we will move on to the new business and the adoption of Resolution R13-22. And I will turn that over to our city staff.
Sure. Yes, Hong, could you go ahead, please?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. So this is for property at 15460 Annapolis Road. And this property is located at Free State Plaza. And currently it is converting from existing bank to a restaurant. Because of this change, they are requesting to install a new 2-inch water service connection and abandon existing 1-inch connection. And after receiving the application, Public Works has completed administrative review and has confirmed that this application meeting the conditions set by City Code and complies with the city and county plans. So we recommend approval of this new water service connection for this property at 15450 Annapolis Road. And so today the owner's representative Jamie Wandley, project manager with Kimberly Hong, is also here. In case of any questions, both of us will be available to answer any questions or comments.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the council? No questions from council. Hearing that, I will now open the public hearing. Madam City Clerk, are there any comments or remarks regarding?
No, Mayor, we did not receive any comments, and there's no one signed up for it this evening.
All right, I will declare the public hearing closed at this time, and we're eligible for action. I will entertain a motion at this time.
Mayor Adams, I move the approval of Resolution 13-22.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye.
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 Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. Hey, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, I will now entertain a motion for adjournment and moving into the budget work session.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to adjourn and move into budget work session number 2.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, we will now move into the work session number 2. And I will turn it over to city staff.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, give me 2 minutes to have our musical chairs here and get the Public Works Director in position.
All right.
Okay, so before we get into the Public Works component, there's one thing I want to make clear from last week's discussion when I talked about the fund balance. And this is just a point of clarity here, clarification. On page Roman numeral 16 of our budget, which is the budget letter that I sent to you last week, if you go down to FY24 and read right, and it shows on the third column from the left, increase, decrease, that $8,531,000 that would be coming from the fund balance, that number is based on an 8 cents tax increase for that year. All right, so for your information, if the tax increase doesn't happen, then you could multiply $890,000 times 8 and add that to the decrease for us, just so you understand that that's the circumstances of that projection. All right? Just to clear that up, make sure everybody understands that point. Not to start with on a down note, but this is budgeting. I just want to make sure you understand that number. That it's when you read the letter, you'll see that we were projecting an 8 cent increase for next year. If we don't get that, then it's a simple arithmetic there. All right, so we're going to start with Public Works. This is the first budget session for Mr. Alderuse, so we need to break him in really nice here tonight and get him. We don't go easy on anybody in budget. Budget is ruthless. No, serious. So, but we're ready. So we'll start on page 138 of the budget book, which is where the Public Works Administration is. And I plan to read the descriptions for people who are out there in TV land who may not have reference to our books, so you'll know what we're talking about. This division is the hub of all the public works services rendered to the city and its residents under the direction of the Public Works Director. The areas of responsibility for this department include solid waste collection, recycling, equipment maintenance, street maintenance, capital project management, water filtration, wastewater treatment, and all related services for these divisions. This division is also responsible for the management of the mosquito control program. If you look at the objectives for 2022, A there was to improve the Public Works Department's records management, and they projected that'll be completed on the 30th of June. B is to implement the use of newly acquired asset management software into standard work processes by 30 June 2022, and they're projecting that they'll complete that too. We have, by my observation, no significant performance indicators or changes in this particular division, which brings us down to the objectives for the fiscal year 2023, which are: 1 would be to provide engineering support to the community services and planning as in helping them manage their CIP projects and other situations. Complete MS4 inspection program biannual report, which was mentioned last week in the CIP discussions. And 3, identify a suitable location for Southside Bowie Salt Dome, and which is, for your information, our trucks, because we don't have a salt dome in that part of town, when the trucks empty down in South Bowie, they got to come all the way back up here, and that's just not efficient for fuel or the wear and tear on the employees. So we're looking for some place to store salt in that part of town, so we won't have to do that. Going on to page 139, There is a breakdown there in expenditures. But wait a minute, let's back up. On page 138, the significant budget changes, there is a reclassification of the branch business manager / lead contract specialist position from a grade Y 115 to a grade Y 116 at a cost of $6,703. All right, the street / storm drain inspector position transferred to street division at a cost, at a reduction of $96,146. And we intend to change the title of that initial reclassification to a business and facilities manager, in this budget year. Now we can go to 139. The expenditures columns is nothing remarkable there. When you look at the FT full-time equivalents, we are down one FTE as mentioned earlier because of the transfer. We're going to see that person later on, however. The significant expenses for that department are salary, wages, and fringe benefits with professional services at $28,500. And we use that line item for soil testing, surveys, floodplain studies, engineering studies, review of plans and permits beyond our staff's capability. We use consultants a lot to help us expand our capabilities. Are there any questions about this division of the Public Works Department?
Mr. City Manager?
Yes.
A couple of questions. The first is on the salt dome. What are the requirements that we have for that facility? I imagine it's pretty limited infrastructure that we're looking for.
This actually is going to be a very easy project to complete because, as you can see, in fiscal year 2022, we already planned the design and construction for a salt dome in our public works. So we have all the material. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. The difference with this is going to be simpler because it won't entail the erection of a building that is just for salt. It will not have the companion building to store vehicles that the FY22 project has. So it's going to be very easy to complete. And as the city manager mentioned, this is for convenience, but also for safety, because we don't want the truckers having to go back and forth and in the storm and risk an accident. So with this, okay.
And then one more follow-up question on that. Are we looking at existing city property locations, or do we anticipate having to acquire? We already looked at, with recommendations from the planning director, to 8 locations, and we ranked it by different aspects, and we have 2 locations to consider that are property, city property. So we don't have to acquire anything. Thank you. All right. Actually, yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't finish up on my notes. The contractual services, what's driving the volume there? I understand what we're using it for, but what's driving the actual volume?
Well, from my observations, it would be the project management that we have. We have a limited number of actual project managers. So in order to expand our capacity and keep up with the request, we're using more consultants to help us manage projects.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions, Council?
Well, we'll move to page 141, equipment, maintenance, and garage. Simple description here. This is the maintaining and repairing of city vehicles and equipment in this particular division. The objectives for 22 were to finish the renovation of the organization of the records plans room located in the garage. That objective is still ongoing, and they expect to have that completed by the 3rd of June. to assess and develop replacement plan for the garage, auto, and truck lifts by December 2021. Plan completed in November the 30th. And of course, truck lifts are really important and for both maintenance and safety. C there would be to maintain ASC instructions and certifications. Those are mechanic certifications. And so we have 2 mechanics certified. 1 mechanic has completed classes and testing, so we're on course with that. As far as the workload and performance indicators are concerned, no significant changes there. For objectives for 2023, we'll implement a transparent customer service plan by October 31, 22. That's more of an internal support plan for how that organization division supports the other public works divisions in the maintenance of vehicles. And 2, to install auto and truck and heavy-duty truck lifts by June the 30th, 2023. There are no significant budget changes to this division. Looking toward expenditures, no significant changes there, and we have 4 people in that division, and in maybe next year we'll be looking to bolster that somehow, because it's just we're buying more trucks and we need to support that, but that's for next year, possibly. So we're people heavy there, of course, with salaries and fringe benefits, and then we have significant monies in repair and maintenance at the bottom at $162,000. Another $44,600 repair and maintenance for the building, and then of course the operating budget and commodities are significant there too. Are there any questions about our garage and equipment operation, maintenance operation? Okay. If there aren't any questions for that, we'll move to page 144 to the solid waste division, which is one of the largest divisions we have in the city. I'll read the description for the audience. The collection and disposal of city solid waste is this division's responsibility. Regular weekly residential collections include household refuge twice weekly, household mixed recyclables, and yard waste. This division also collects from residents by appointment, metal and tires for recycling. Funds also provide for the disposal of or composting of other debris generated by the city, including the annual leaf collection and storm debris. Under the fiscal year 2022 objectives, we develop a regular schedule of recurring recycling events, and by December 2021, the event would include paper shredding, electronics, and other recyclable materials. The community paper shredding and styrofoam recycling event were held in October. The community paper shredding and styrofoam recycling event is scheduled for June 11, 2022. Electronics will be scheduled as a separate event if a vendor can be located. Recently, used electronics vendors are experiencing equipment and staffing issues, like many people are today. Electronic vendors have communicated that they are not willing to hold a community event like the Bowie one that was done in the past due to rising disposal fees. This could be significantly over our current budget, so we're looking into that, and we're going to manage that accordingly. As far as workload and performance indicators are concerned, there are no significant changes from last year. This year, the objectives are to hold a shredding and styrofoam recycling event in the fall of 22 and the spring of 23, and hold an electronics recycling event in the spring of 2023 if we can find a vendor. There are no significant changes in this division. And the FTEs there from our 58 full-time employees in this division. We have without a doubt, we have a significant salary and wages expense here at $3,139,500, and fringe benefits are according. We pay significant amounts of money in tipping fees. If you look at the disposal fees down here, and we repair and maintenance of the building and the equipment is also housed here, plus the cost of parts to install by city personnel, including tires, lights, and batteries. So, any questions about the solid waste division?
Yes, Mr. City Manager. Quick question. Where will I find the information in the budget on the composting program for food composting?
I'm sorry, sir, could you repeat yourself?
Certainly. Where in the budget will I find information on the food composting pilot programs that we're working?
It'll be in that will be in the disposal fees.
Okay. Can you provide me some more information on what those costs might look like for?
I don't have the numbers right now, but I did provide that to one of the students that came here to investigate what the tipping fees were, and so it will be very easy to find that out and send it to you.
Very much appreciated. Thank you kindly.
No problem.
And next question is on recovery for our recycled material. What's the market look like for recycled paper and things along those lines?
Well, oddly enough, Mr. Wolfley, when I was in graduate school, I did a study for the city of Killeen because they were going from no recycling to recycling, and this was in '93. The market was pristine for people with cardboard and all sorts of metals. It's my understanding that over time that market has flattened out, and it has not recovered. Maybe in some areas, but there's so much recycling that there was a glut in the supplies, and so it's not much of a savings in that respect. I think it's more of a disposal situation.
All right. If someone could share with me what the costs are on that, and that'd be great.
We'll get you what the values are
Yes,
of the recyclable.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I got an A on that course, by the way. Thank you very much. So, any other questions about solid waste?
Quick question for you, City Manager. As we do those disposal fees and all of that, do we go through a contracting process to do that?
Your question was about how we dispose of our solid waste? Is that your question, sir?
Yes, the cost, yes. And doing that, it's determined. I was saying, do we do as we look at how we pay for the disposal, are there contracts that we utilize for companies to assist us with our disposal costs, i.e. the charges for the disposal?
We recycle our materials at the closest recycling station, which is operated by the Maryland Environmental Service. It's a quasi-governmental organization run by the state of Maryland.
Okay, so that's
and our disposal of our trash is with the county's facility.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Just to back up, but Mr. Wolfley's question regarding recyclables, we projected we're going to collect $15,000 in value from our recyclables this year. It was 15 from it's what we estimated from last year. We're not sure what the actuals will be because hasn't closed out yet. But it's not a lot, but it's something. Right.
It's better than paying, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to get some money. I mean, you always like that. So, after any other questions, we'll move to, thank you, Barry. We'll move to the Streets Division on page 147. The responsibility of this division includes all street and sidewalk maintenance as well as street and traffic signs, posts, snow removal, and ice removal on 193 miles of city streets. The objectives for 2022 were to implement the live use of electronic snowboard by June 30, 2022. This is on schedule to be complete. B, continue the annual sidewalk repair program to address sidewalks in worse conditions by June 30th. We are on course to complete this project by the 30th, about 30th of June. And of course, all those sidewalks have been identified, and we also are notified we make our own observations, get notified by residents, of course, take their input. Also, they were going to train employees using the new work order tracking system, so that everybody's trained up on that by the 30th of June. They completed that objective. The workload and performance indicators were no significant numbers from last year, as you know, some of these divisions never stopped. You know, well, COVID-19 didn't have any impact on us in some areas because we just had to keep going, and this was one of them, and solid waste and others. If we go to objectives for 2023, it's to conduct a survey to compare local jurisdictions' snowplow contractor payment rates and evaluate our current prices to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck. 2, to evaluate all speed and stop sign by regulation, reflecting and using reflectometer, and develop a replacement plan for FY 2024. Continue annual sidewalk repair program to address sidewalks in worse condition. Complete road asset inventory using the trans-economy payment ranking, which ranks surface conditions based on visual inspection, visual surface defects, and distresses. The inventory is to be completed by December of 2022. After that, a road condition assessment program will be performed biannually to plan resurfacing projects based on available budgets. There are some significant budget changes in this division. The street and storm drain inspector position transferred from administration to the street division at a cost of $96,146. The reclassification of the traffic/sign technician supervisor from Y111 to Y13 at a cost of $5,492, and an addition of 1 FTE assistant traffic sign technician grade Y108 at a cost of $61,739. If you move to page 149, you'll see the changes that are reflected in the FTEs at the bottom line there, 28.7, where we transferred one person and added an FTE. This is also a people-heavy organization, so a large part of the expenses are the salaries and wages and associated fringe benefits. Also, equipment rental is something we do with regularity. Repair and maintenance of all equipment. We're talking dump trucks, off-road equipment, construction-like equipment, if I can use that term. And one of the significant things that we keep in this division is the street lighting and cleaning and relamping program, which is $1,254,900. Just so everybody understands, you know, with regard to street lighting, in some parts of town and parts of District 1 and District 2, because of the age of the street lights and the age of the underground cables, often when a street light goes out, it's an underground cable issue. and which is a lot more involved than just changing a bulb. It requires digging, missed utility, and good weather and all that, so, but our contractor is doing an incredible job of keeping up with it. People are really want their lights on, and we're working hard. And I'm not sure if there's anything we do with that, but continue to maintain them as best we can. The resurfacing money's there, $2,063,000. We talked about that last week in the CIP projects and other commodities that we simply have to have. If you look at the operating supplies, you'll see crack sealer. A crack sealer is the way you can fill cracks in a road that's maybe 10, 12 years old and extend the life of that road for another 10, 15 years. And you can avoid alligating and all those sort of things that can destroy a road. But everything's expensive, so yes. Any questions about the streets division?
Mr. City Manager, quick question for you. On the lighting, you mentioned the underground cable issue. I know this has been was a sore point. We had some issues with contractor performance in the over the course, I guess it was last fiscal year, maybe beginning of this one. Do we have a suitable cadre of vendors, and how do we look in terms of, I don't want to say complaints, but outages and so forth? Are we getting better or worse?
Well, it was longer than that. It was before the pandemic, and we had a really friendly conversation with the contractors around that time, and they were conscientious people. They wanted to do better, and so they are performing better now. And this was before Jose, when George was here, and they are more keen to react and take the proper action, especially when we have this underground cable issue. Before, I think it was a bit of a surprise to them too, because initially they were, focused on replacing bulbs, and but they are on target. I mean, there are things like bad weather.
Sure.
Missed utility marks the grounds incorrectly. Those sort of things throw you off, and that really upsets the residents. But you can't dig without knowing where you're going. But they are making corrections, and we're having a competent employee, very competent, conscientious employee who was complimented today, as a matter of fact, who is on top of this and beating up on the contractor and taking heat from the residents all at the same time.
Excellent, thank you. Have we seen any trends in terms of problems increasing or decreasing?
It seems to be a steady experience.
Okay.
And based on my observations, one out of 25 calls is going to be a cable issue, and we hope it stays that way and doesn't go up. But time and groundwater can really damage cables, especially at 60 years old.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and I suspect that even with tonight's rain, it's not going to help.
Yeah, that's
any.
not good.
But yes, thank you. And I too have noticed that it's been a bit flat. I used to get a bit more complaints about problems and slow response times on that. So extend my thanks to the team, to include the contractor as well as our staff.
This is where one of the significant challenges we have, and we'll talk when Stephen gets up here, is recruiting people and retaining people. But one of the reasons why things are so good, we have a really good employee on top of this. He's got a lot of pride and a conscientious person, and that's 40% of it, I think, right there.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay, so the next issue would be on 151, which would be stormwater management. Stormwater management provides facility management of the city stormwater systems. Services to be provided include cleaning and mowing of grass drainage areas. This division also provides service to the special tax districts, which we'll talk about later on, and we spoke of a little bit last week. The objectives and results of fiscal year 22 are that they had an objective to provide training for maintenance crews and maintenance of environmental site designs, ESDs, stormwater management practices and to have that done by the 30th of June this year. The objectives in progress and they expect to be completed. B would be to fully adopt and train staff to utilize the VIII work management program for work planning, progress tracking, and reporting by the 30th of June, and VIII software installation and training will be completed on time. And also to establish dam maintenance and inspection log for the dams on the MDE inventory by 30th of June. And this objective also is in progress and expects to be completed. No major performance indicators or workload indicators here for change from last year. The objectives for 23 are to develop inspection operations and maintenance plans for high hazard dams in the city by June 30, 2023. Number 2 there will be to provide routine corrective maintenance to the city stormwater facilities, outfalls, and drainage areas. There is a significant budget change here. The addition of 1 FTE, grade 105 at the cost of $50,000, and we are balancing that out by reducing the temporary labor because it's really hard to get them these days, and just really hard with the 3% unemployment rate. So we're gonna we'll add a 0.6 of a FTE, 29,846. All right, so therefore the FTEs will go from 7.7 to 8.1. If you look at 152, we got approximately 600,000 in wages and fringe benefits, significant amount of money in repair and maintenance for the stormwater maintenance facilities and outfalls, and operating expenses there. Any questions about that aspect of stormwater management?
Yes, Mr. City Manager, a couple of quick questions. Can you provide me a copy of the inventory of the dams in the city, please? And then the next question on that is, given what we've done in terms of inspections and maintenance so far, are there any of these dams that have any concerns or risks or anything that will need attention anytime soon?
I'm glad to report that we don't have any problems with it. So in the inventory it will go to you. I already have the file.
Excellent, thank you. And are those dams that are city or are city and other government entities?
As far as I know, they're only cities, and that's recorded on the State of Maryland Department of Environment list.
Excellent, thank you. Oh, and we spoke, I don't know if it was last week or a couple weeks ago, about enhancing the vegetation around the trees and shrubs around stormwater management facilities. Okay. Would that come in this budget here, or would that be somewhere else?
It does, and if you look down at the $25,000 from the bottom, page 152, that is the money that we've allocated for that. So we'll be able to do that much improvement, but Jose's working with the environmental committee, right?
Environment Advisory Committee.
He's working with the Environmental Advisory Committee and to determine the best types of shrubberies or trees or whatever we want to put up there, and then we're going to go out and develop a plan and take some action.
Excellent, thank you.
So the stormwater.
City Manager.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Before you go on, just as you're going through this and then thinking, as we're seeing inflation and those kind of things, have we made sure to include inflation or looking at potential cost increase for these commodities and other things as we continue to go? Because I know you've been working on the budget for a little while, trying to put all the pieces together. So is that, though it's not major numbers, but we are raising those costs and looking at them for potential inflationary impacts, correct?
Yes, we have. During the January, February timeframe, when the department directors and their teams were coming to me and following the source of one thing or another, they have to come up with current projections, and they were required to include projections associated with this inflationary spiral. When I think one of our trash trucks that we bought last year was projected at 190, and about the same trash truck this year is 240. And we know that because we researched that as we plugged these things into the budget.
Thank you, City Manager.
Right. So, one would be page 153 would be the.
It just depends on what the percentage is.
Okay. Would be on page 153. And this is a stormwater management special tax districts. What we have is to provide stormwater facility maintenance on several stormwater facilities in the city. Services to be provided include inlet and storm sewer cleaning, as well as cleaning and mowing of grass. Funding of this service is provided by a special tax district and the general fund revenues. And special tax district would be monies from commercial taxes with a mix. So right now we've got in this budget the Special Tax District 1, which is the Maryland Science and Technology Center, which is Melfort. We've got a budget of $1,000 there for contractual services. In the Special District 2, which is the Bowie Town Center, we have a budget for $6,600 for contractual services to help maintain that. And Special Tax District 5, which is Highbridge, we have $1,600 in professional services for that. Also in Special Tax District 6, which is the Gateway Center, there's a $2,400 expense. District 7, which is Pin Oak, is an $800 expense. Elder Oaks Special District is $800, and Special Tax District 11, Collington Plaza, a $1,400 expense. Any questions about that? So if we jump to CIP, are you going to go through Norton?
Right through Morgan, so right here.
Okay, you're going to do non-departmental first, right?
No, that goes at the end when we do the.
Questions about that situation there? If not, Mr. Mayor, we're going to move forward to page 179. And
I have a.
Excuse me, Councilwoman Mdabamagu, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about this. I think we were, I was trying to figure out how to, I had my hand raised, but sorry, etiquette, still learning that part. I just had a quick question about, I know we moved past it and I can happy to send in an email, but it was just a question for on page 147 when we were talking about streets. And it was item D where we were talking about replace 300 street signs during the fiscal year. Do we have a list of what those neighborhoods are, or is that across the entire city of Bowie? Because I think one of the things that I've heard in South Bowie in particular is that I think the community really wants to make sure that we are prioritizing and we're getting to some of the concerns that they have around old street signs or certain improvements that are owned by the city of Bowie. So I just wanted to understand if there was a breakdown for what roads and what streets are coming up quicker or sooner, rather. And if not, just getting more context on that to really understand how this budget is going to be allocated to know what neighborhoods it might affect and when.
we can get back to you and with some specifics as to how we develop our list. I'm certain that we're equitable and we look at the entire city, but so that you will know and you can explain to your constituents how we get it, we can get back to you with what process we go through. so that you'll understand that.
Awesome, that would be great. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor. Sorry about that. I'm finished.
Okay.
No problem. City Manager.
Yes,
please,
sir. I'm
the
sorry.
roll.
I'm a slow writer there, Mr. Mayor. I was trying to get that note down there. All right, Byron, proceed.
Thank you, Al. Good evening, Council and Mayor. H. Byron Matthews, the Finance Director. I want to digress just for a second to answer Councilman Wolfley's question regarding solid waste and the disposal fees. On the disposal fees, Councilman, we have about $94,000 that's dedicated to yard waste disposal and composting. And then there is another $10,000 that's in the supplies to purchase composting containers. Those bins that we're using for composting. So those two categories cover those items.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. So if you will follow me on page 179, we'll talk about the operating summaries for water and sewer operations. As you know, the city has a water and sewer plant that handles 40% of the city households. The lion's share of that is in the Levitt area. In 2018, Council put into place a replacement of the water mains and the water pipes throughout the city. A fee of $22.75 was assessed to each customer's quarterly bill. We're estimating this year that that project is going to be about $11 million, and the city anticipates using $2.7 million from the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds and another $2.6 million in borrowings. The city also proposes a 5% increase in the water rate, a combined 5% increase, water and sewer, that will have an effect on a quarterly bill of about $8.97. That will take our current tax rate from $13.84 to $14.53. And that's based on 13,000 gallons, which we estimate to be the average quarterly use in a home. On page 180, we try to lay out for you a graph of the water and sewer rates over time so that you can see how the rates have progressed over the years. In the middle of that page, we also show the funding requirements for both utilities for FY23. We try to lay out to you the division budget. That's both water and sewer. The billing and accounting is shared between the two funds. They're non-departmental expenses. The central support. The central support is a fee that we establish for all the other city employees that contribute to the wastewater and water division. We have our debt service, we have our capital outlays, and as you can see, the lion's share of that is $6.6 million in the water division, and mostly related to the pipe replacement program. With that, we look at other revenues, loan proceeds, any grant revenue that we may get, federal or state, and the renewal replacement revenue, $718,900. That relates to that $22 charge I mentioned earlier. Then the balance of the revenue is just generated from meter sales and our minimum charges. And that's how we basically develop the rate. As you can see, the water and sewer, the water fund will be in the negative about 17 million, and the sewer will be in the positive about 600,000, excuse me. So we're looking on page 181, and we can see that our estimated revenues are going to be about 10.6 million. Our expenditures are programmed at about 10 million. We expect to have an increase of 662,000 for the year. During the budget year, revenues are going to be 14.5 million. Expenditures will be 15.1, and we expect to have a deficit in FY23 of just about $600,000. The forecast demonstrates that the formulas are based on 513 million gallons over the year. We are expecting to increase the water and sewer rates at 5% from FY24 through 28. We expect our minimum charges to remain the same. All other revenues are expected to increase by 5%. The renewal and replacement rate will go up in FY24 to $23.44. It's just basically a 69-cent increase there. Expenditures for the operating departments will increase by 4%, billing and accounting at 6%, and our non-departmental cost will be at 7% in this calculation. Debt service schedule is based off our original debt schedule as of June 30th, 2021, but it also includes $7.9 million for the replacement of the water pipes. Capital outlay from 24 to FY28 is based off the capital improvement requirements, and they average about 3.5 million a year. The graph represents another presentation of our fund balance policy, and as you can see in the chart above, will be within our fund balance policy for the water and sewer based on our projections from 24 through 28. If you follow me on page 182, this is basically a revenue summary again in more detail so that you can actually see where things are coming from. Just presented to you in a different way, but gives you the full amount of the budget. Page 183 is a further detail of those numbers that we see on page 182, more refined numbers. I just wanted to pull your attention that all of the coronavirus money that we're going to receive will be used in this fund. That's about 4.7 million. If we can go to page 184, it's just a list of our revenue detail and how we determine the forecasting model for our water sales and our sewer surcharges, our minimum charges, what we do with interest rates and interest income. We do have idle cash. All of that is invested in the local government investment pool. We show our renewal and replacement fee, again, our claims and reimbursements and other charges, and just our regular fees for usage. If you follow me to page 185, that's a summary of our expenditures by function: billing and accounting, water supplies, sewer treatment, debt service, non-departmental. Most of those costs are pretty stagnant until we get to our water supply where we're doing most of the capital improvements, so that number will continue to rise. Al, I think that's my last page. I'll hand it over to you.
Any questions of Mr. Matthews regarding the revenue details of our water system?
Yes, a quick question for you on page 182, federal grants, 2021 to 22, we've got 2 million and 2.7 for 22, 23. Can you outline those in detail for me, please?
Yes, Mr. Wolfley. That's just the coronavirus money that we are bridging, how much we actually needed to function in FY '22, and the rest we'll be using it in FY '23. The total fund was 4.7 million.
Okay.
So if you add those two numbers up, that's what you come out with.
Thank you. So the revenues are actually occurring or are not driven by fiscal year? I guess my point is this the schedule which is coming in, or just the allocation for us to use it?
This is the schedule on which is coming in. We've
Okay.
already received
All right,
the
fair.
first
The first
2.3,
tranche, yes.
yeah.
Yep. All right, thank you very much. Good? Yep.
Okay, then, we'll move on to page 186, which is billing and accounting as it relates to the water and sewer systems that we have. I'll read a description. This activity is carried out by staff of the Finance Department whose duties are interrelated with the overall financial activity of the city, that separate personnel assignments are not practical. The department is responsible for billing, collecting, and accountability of all water and sewer charges, monitoring and control of the expense appropriation, maintaining and forecasting cash positions, and investment of temporary idle funds, and providing for debt service requirements are continuous programs of the department. This is an accounting activity as much as anything else, and it demonstrates that when you look at a good part of, you take a finance technician who spends 40% of their time doing this and 60% of their time doing general fund issues. And so this is how we break that out, so we'll know how to account for the time of those technicians. And so there are no significant changes here. The objectives are already in the Finance Department's objectives because they're the people doing this. And so if you look at 187 here, you'll see from the Finance Director down to the part-time accounting technician, all of these people spend some of their time working on the water and sewer system, billing and accounting. It's from Mr. Matthews, Lola, and down to the other technicians there, other accounting technicians. And then, of course, the appropriate amount of salaries are credited toward that and fringe benefits. We do have professional services there for computer programs and bank fees and armored car services, cash receipts, and other things associated with monies coming in because we operate a cash window, of course. Any questions about the billing and accounting component there? Okay, if there are no questions, we'll move on to page 189, which is the water division of the water and sewer operation and public works. This division is responsible for the production and purification of water supply for the city, which meets and or exceeds all state, federal health standards. The water is fluoridated for health purposes, and the iron is removed by filtration, flocculation, aeration, and sedimentation process. The cost of maintaining the water distribution system is included in this division. The objectives for 22 were, A, to implement Phase 2 of SCADA design and construction for monitoring and control of automation of the water plant by June 2022. The water quality analyzers have been installed for pH, chlorine scales 2 will be replaced, and associated alarms will be integrated into the SCADA for by June of 2022. All critical process alarms for the water plant have been integrated into SCADA. Integration of remaining WTP process continues. Established a preventive maintenance program for utilizing HIPPO and CMMS systems by June of 2022. Preventive maintenance program setup is in progress and will be completed by June of 2022. Fully adopt and train staff to utilize the Beehive Asset Management Program for work planning, progress tracking, and reporting by June 2022. The Beehive software installation and training have been completed. Ongoing efforts are spent on recording all work activities, work planning, and reporting using Beehive. D will be to develop and establish an MOU with WSSC to exercise 2 interconnections at Old Chapel Road and London Lane annually by FY 2022. This objective has been postponed until 2023. The workload and performance indicators are not major. There is a significant difference in the number of meters installed and repaired, but we went through a significant replacement of meters over the last couple of years, where we got rid of the old ones and brought in more modern meters where you could use radio waves to read them, as opposed to physically digging them up and look at them. And that makes us more efficient and effective. So, okay, so the workload is, I mentioned that. The objective for 2023, continuing implementation of SCADA design and construction for monitoring, control, and automation of the water plant by June of 2023. Accomplish the rehabilitation and redevelopment of raw well number 5 by June 2023. Develop documentation to establish an MOU with WSSC to exercise 2 interconnections at Old Chapel Road, London Lane by FY 2023. There is a significant change, which is the reclassification of a maintenance manager from grade Y14 to grade Y115 at a cost of $2,357. The full-time FTE stays the same at 14.8. The big numbers in expenses of $1.5 million for personnel and fringes, and significant contractor services on a as-need basis. And as far as public utilities is a big expense: gas, electricity, telephone service, and also the cost of using this utility to do the work and to dig before we dig. Commodities are expended in $187,000 for piping, wiring, tools, and a hydrant replacement, meter parts, and all of that. And we have a significant expense in improvements other than the building, which is the water distribution system recapitalization design for $6,045,000, which is what we're planning for with the next pipe replacement. So, are there any questions about the water division?
Yes, a quick question for you. I want to go back to the meters. So we are finished with the meter replacement program. That 100 just reflects the potential for...
Yeah, maintenance and upkeep of what we've already installed.
Excellent. Thank you. That's good news.
Right.
Have we seen a commensurate reduction in staff hours devoted to collecting meter readings and the like?
Not yet, but I assume it will happen soon. I think that the installation and maintenance was first, but I haven't seen anything that I can measure. But I'll report later if we see it. But
Thank
I
you.
anticipate that, yes.
I predict that that's forthcoming. It's as simple as it has to be.
Thank you. Yeah, I know they still have to go back, but I believe it may even be something you can do from a vehicle distance.
Yes,
as opposed.
that's correct.
So there should be some significant savings on that. Thank you.
All right, so any questions, any other questions on the Water Division? If not, we'll proceed to page 193 and Wastewater Division. This division is responsible for the collection and treatment of raw sewage. This sewage is treated and returned to the Patuxent River in full compliance with state and Environmental Protection Agency permit standards. The cost of maintaining the sewer collection systems are located in this division. For 2022, the objectives there were 4 of them. One was Phase 2 SCADA design and construction, as we talked about before in the other system. Automation of the wastewater plant by June 30th, 2022. The SCADA Phase 1 has been awarded to IMEX. Construction will begin in January 2022 and is scheduled for the completion by June 30, 2022. To fully adopt and train staff to utilize the Beehive Asset Management Program for work planning, progress tracking, and reporting by 30 June 2022. The Beehive software installation and training have been completed. Ongoing efforts are spent on recording all work activities, work planning, and reporting using Beehive system, which is, I've been informed that we can track the efficiency of those guys who work the meters using that system also. Number C there is to establish preventive maintenance program using HIPPO CMMS system by June 30th. This has been completed. The preventive maintenance program is incorporated into HIPPO CMMS on 11/30/21. To improve utility file record systems, including records drawing, folder structure, etc., by June 30th, 2022. The objective is in progress and projected to be completed by the end of the fiscal year for in 2022. There are no significant performance indicators that I can ascertain. The objectives for 2023 are to establish preventive maintenance equipment replacement program to ensure reliable operations of critical processes by June 30, 2023. Existing aged pumps at sewer pumping stations will be replaced under this program, first due to high priorities. Implement ATS replacement program at sewer pumping stations to ensure reliable operations of sewer stations under emergency circumstances by 30 June 2023. Fully adopt and train staff to utilize Beehive Asset Management Program for work planning, progress tracking, and reporting by June of 2023. Significant budget changes. Reclassification of the maintenance manager from a Y114 to a Y115 at the cost of $2,361. Now, so our FTEs are still the same, 16.6 in both last year and this year. Our big expenses are here are salary and wages at approximately 1.5, disposal fees for sludge and grease is $232,000. We have utility services for $263,000, and we have a significant expense in as far as machinery and equipment, which would be the normal and unexpected repairs, emergency repairs requiring replacement of major components. Of course, this particular operation is a 24/7 operation that simply must continue. Any questions about the wastewater treatment, wastewater division? If not, Mr. Matthews here will We'll thrill you some more with non-departmental numbers associated with the budget.
Thank you all. This budget section provides for expenditures that are not directly or exclusively associated with specific activities or divisions. It also includes the debt service, comprehensive insurance coverage, allowances, and contingencies. So if we go to the middle of the page here, we can see that we have our debt service outstanding for the enhanced nutrient removal upgrade. The commercial loan represents the monies that we need to fund the pipe replacement program, and then we have our wastewater plant debt. Contractual services, dealing with property and casualty insurance, other charges, incentive awards, reserved for contingencies. And on page 198, we have reserves for other personnel adjustments, 10,000, and general fund central support services. I talked about that earlier. That's $533,700. On page 199 is a detailed listing of our outstanding debt at this point. There is not a schedule yet for the borrowing for the pipe replacement. We will show that once that loan is in place. And finally, on page 200 is a list of the various equipment and vehicles that are in this division. We show that in FY23, vehicle 404 will be replaced, and our John Deere backhoe loader, item 476, will be replaced. And then if we move down into our equipment, we have several generators that will be replaced in 2023. And that's a summary of the non-departmental debt service and the schedule of equipment replacement for the water and sewer fund. If you have any questions, I will take them.
Yes, Mr. Matthews, if I could ask
Yes,
you real
sir.
quick, City Manager. My one question is, when I look at the other charges,
Right.
when I look at the incentive awards, and then we look at what you have for personnel adjustments, given the climate we're in now, I guess my real question is whether or not, if you take a look at that number and think that we have enough there to make sure we can reward and maintain our personnel, just as we see how the employment, again, the low employment number, but also retention of really good employees, and all, just a look at that number. It looks a little low, but I just ask that you take a look at that.
Well, Mr. Mayor, what we'll do is we'll take a look at our past spending effects, see how much we spent last year, and see how close we got to the number. And if we have been exceeding it, we'll come back and ask for more. But you're right.
Yeah,
it is one of the major tools that we have to incentivize and the employees who are meritorious and conscientious, who never fail to make it happen, and there are a lot of them in public works, for sure.
All right, thank you.
Just for the record, Mr. Mayor, what you were looking at was for the water and sewer, but we'll look at the number for the whole city, okay? And get back to you.
Okay. Hey,
All right.
thank you.
So I'd like to go to page 295 and discuss the CIP projects that are specifically related to the water and sewer fund. On page 295, we have the water plant construction project, water plant project. This project provides improvements, recapitalization, and major repairs to the city's water production, storage, and distribution infrastructure, including water filtration plant, water wells, storage tanks, distribution piping, and valves. If you move to page 296, you see a summary, project summary cost. Moving down to FY 2023, which is the number in question, the filter system replacement is for $150,000. The WTP SCADA implementation project is $100,000. Well 5 replacement is $250,000. And the aeration system repair and upgrade is listed at $60,000 for a total of $560,000. If you look down at the next chart, it shows that in the all of the monies that are being used are coming from the water and sewer revenues. All right. Any questions about that project or its funding or anything? If there aren't any questions, we'll proceed to page 297, which is the repainting water storage tanks. The city has 3 water storage tanks. Tank at Media Lane has a total capacity of 3 million gallons. The tank at Bel Air Drive and Bradford Lane each have a capacity of 600,000 gallons. The interior and exterior of these tanks require periodic repainting. Moving to page 298, you'll see for in FY 2023, we intend to paint and repair the Bradford Lane tank for $199,200, and the Media Lane tank post-construction inspection for $6,000, for a total of $205,200. Any questions about that project? Oh, by the way, the summary also posts the project summary funding. All of those funds come from the water and sewer revenues also. The wastewater treatment plant, this project provides for major building renovation and improvement to the wastewater treatment plant itself. The number is $911,000. Moving to page 300, you see that the flow equalizer electrical upgrade is $231,000. The sewer lateral replacement is $80,000. The WWTP SCADA implementation is $390,000. Return activation sludge, waste activation sludge upgrade design is $80,000. The WWTP miscellaneous equipment replacement is $80,000. And inline monitoring probes are $50,000 for a total of $911,000. If you look at the funding summary that the finance has, then all of the $911,000 would come from the water and sewer revenues. Any questions about that? Now to the project we know well, which is the water distribution system recapitalization project. The city of Bowie operates a public water utility that serves 7,900 customers. The water distribution piping suffers from a significant corrosion that has caused degradation of water quality and in some cases reduced flow rates. Water meters needed to be updated to simple meter readings and improved metering accuracy, and several other expenses to repair this particular system. But what I'd like to do is go to page 302 and get more specific about what this would be. The meter replacement, which year 7 of 7, would be $275,000. Hydraulic modeling, $5,000. Design of the second 3.5-mile replacement project is $100,000. Construction and inspection management services for the 3.5-mile replacement lining project is estimated at $5 million. for a total of $5,380,000 for this project as it relates to the water system. Now, going down to the page, to this funding summary, you'll see that $2,635,800 is expected from loans, $2,744,200 federal grants, for a total of $5,380,000. Any questions are about this? Byron already explained the funding, where that $2.7 million came from. So any questions about this project? I'm sure there is. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Two quick questions. We have $2 million and $2.7 for grant money coming in, and $2.6 and $2.0 for loans. The $2.6 that we need for loans in '23. Let me back up. The $2 million we have in federal grant coming in, is that being expended this year? The 2020, it's estimated 2022 estimate $2 million.
Yes, the $2 million in grant, we'll be using that this year.
This year, okay,
Yes.
so that will not be available for
No.
2023. Okay,
Right.
got it. Now I'm back to understanding the math. Thank you. The next question is back on the meter replacement. Earlier conversation had us just, I think, at 100 of them suggesting that we were done with meter replacement, but here we've got it year 7 of 7 for $275,000.
My statement is we're done installing for the year. So the number of meters that we have planned to do this fiscal year, we're done with those. So we need to start with the year 7 meter revision plan.
Wouldn't that be the end of our replacement, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that will be, and how many do we have to do in year 7?
I have no idea right now, but I can get back to you with that.
Well, just a minute. Hong, are you familiar with that number? We'll find that out, Mr.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, sorry. I was on mute. It is in our database. We should be able to easily find that number and get back to you, Councilman.
Excellent, thank you very much, appreciate it.
I have a question. Just real quickly, Jose, what is the life expectancy of these, when the pipe's replaced or repaired, what is the life expectancy after that? What do you think as far as years?
I will defer that question to Hong. She has more experience on this, and she has been working on that. So I can give a guess, but I know that Hong is one in it.
Let her say, let her get the
Just
answer.
wondering.
So for the class 4 structural lining project, and so the technology that we're using are I would say fairly innovative technology, and the manufacturer guaranteed is 50 years. But since from the invention of the technology, it hasn't been that long yet. So, but typically, we would expect more years out of the.
So Hong, did you say 15 or 50 years?
50.
Thank you. Good
Sure.
information.
Thank you, Hong. Mr. Mayor, if there aren't any other questions, or this completes our budget work for the night, for this session.
All right. Okay, are there any other questions? If I don't, hearing no other questions, then I'd like to ask that we entertain a motion to return to the regular meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to reconvene into regular session.
Second.
All right, we'll need to go back into the first meeting, to the regular council meeting, then go into executive session. So could someone move for me to go back into our regular scheduled meeting?
That's what the motion was, sir.
Oh, I thought I heard about going to executive session. Okay. It's been moved and properly second to go back into the regular scheduled meeting. All in favor, please respond with an aye.
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 Opposed, same favor. Hearing none. We're now back in the meeting. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn and move to closed session. To adjourn the closed session under statutory authority of the Maryland Annotated Code, State Government Article subsection 3-305B1. Discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluations of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals, and subsection 3-305B7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please respond with an aye.
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 Opposed, same favor. Motion carries. Hey, I'd like to thank staff for a great job in presenting the budget, and for all those who support it. I'd like to thank, of course, our council members for their diligent work, but also thank the public for tuning in and working through the budget with us as well. So thank you, everyone, and please have a good night. Goodbye.